I used to be blessed with a few other students that whenever chief minister or a president or somebody comes to Prashant Nilayam, Bhagwan used to bless some of us with the opportunity to go and make sure that they're comfortable. So we had to look after their residence facilities. Anything that person wanted, we had to provide his meals and communication between the gentleman or that lady and the Swami. All things we used to handle basically. This audience may recollect the ex-Prime Minister, Chief Minister of the United States of Andhra Pradesh, at that time the United States of Andhra Pradesh, the late Sri Marri Channa Reddy. He was known to be a very strict disciplinarian, and he had the party firmly in his grasp because he was very strict with those who were working under him. Not to mention, because so much of power was concentrated in him, he had lots of sycophants who would all the time circumambulate him for some kind of a favor or the other, and there was no shortage even in Puttaparthi. They didn't spare even a holy place like Puttaparthi. So darshan was over and the chief minister had retired inside the room. I was standing near the door, and one more student brother of mine was standing near the inner door. We were just cleaning up basically. Suddenly there was a very loud knocking on the doors of Purnachandra Auditorium. In those days, Purnachandra Auditorium used to serve as a guest house for VIPs. Swami used to stay above the current bhajan hall. So we were shocked. We said, who is knocking so loudly? And we opened the door. There was some MLA who was standing there. He was very haughty. It was obvious that he had come there only to pay his respects to the chief minister. He had no respect or he had no concern that this place is a holy place, and he had walked in with his chappals. So I stood near the door and I would not let him come in. So he said, move aside. Very haughtily he said. I said, sir, you are wearing your chappals. If you don't mind, can you please remove your footwear and then come inside? He said, I'm talking to you. Move aside. He said, and he just brushed me aside like that and he walked in. Very haughty. I ran after him and I said, sir, please give me the chappals. You give me the chappals, I will keep them outside, but you can carry on if it's a problem for you. So please give me the footwear, I will take it and I will put it out. Again, he just ignored me and he walked. Now, this entire incident was being seen by the other brother who was standing near the inner door. He is a very bulky, hefty person, so he didn't budge. He just stood there like that. So this MLA came, bumped into him. He said, move aside. He said, sir, please remove your chappals. He said, I'm talking to you, man. You move aside. I have to meet the chief minister. So this time the tone raised of this student also says, will you remove your chappal, sir, or shall I complain to the chief minister about your indiscipline? That shook him. Complain to the chief minister means this person's political career is gone. Now that he couldn't risk. So promptly he went back, removed his chappals, came back, and then attended everything. Now neither of us thought it is necessary to share this with anybody. So the next day the VIP had gone, morning bhajans were going on. There was nobody in the portico. In those days, Swami used to spend lots of times in the portico. Maybe about 4 or 5 of us were sitting on the upper portico. And Swami was moving around up and down. And 10 minutes before the bhajans were due to start, this other brother who was with me was a bhajan singer. So he was sitting inside the bhajan hall. I was sitting outside the bhajan hall. So Swami came for darshan, walked up. General Chibbar was sitting on the upper portico. And he asked General Chibbar, how are you, everything? Then he said, Channa Reddy had come, he had gone, he's a very great devotee of Swami. And then all that he explained to General Chibbar, and General Chibbar was nodding. And then suddenly Swami stopped. And he said, Chibbar, something very funny happened there. And General Chibbar was interested. He said, Swami, what happened? He said, some MLA misbehaved, it seems, with our boys. Then he looked at me, I was sitting right next. He said, tell what happened, you tell him. So, these are the moments when you have to really pause. Here is an entity, a phenomena standing in front of me who actually tapped an incident which we did not share with anybody. And here we are thinking that Swami did not know the incident unless I am going to give the details about the incident. So I started. I told this what happened, everything happened, and and ultimately he went away like that, and this is how it ended. And Swami said, but he was a little rash with you, isn't it? Why didn't you tell that? I said, yes, Swami, he was a little rash with me. What did he tell? He said, Swami, he just brushed me aside and he wouldn't want to talk to me, and he continued going inside. So what did you do? I said, Swami, I requested him to give me his slippers. I requested him and I offered that, I will keep the slippers there. He can continue going. And Swami said, see, this is my student. See the humility. They should be so humble always. And then he looked at me and he said, but Bangaru, I'll give you one advice. Every time if you are so soft and silent like this, people will swallow you. You have to be a little rash and you have to stand up and, talk brashly once in a while. Otherwise, you will never get your work done. I said, Swami, I will follow your advice. It didn't end there. Swami went inside the bhajan hall this time. There, the other brother who sings bhajans was sitting there. So there, some more VIPs were seated, elderly gentlemen were seated, and Swami went, same thing. Chief Minister Chennareddy came and went recently. Yes, Swami. Those poor people had no idea that the discussion had already taken place outside. And we had no idea that Swami was repeating the drama inside. So we knew that something was happening, that's all. He said, oh Swami, yes, Chennareddy is a very great devotee of Swami. No, but he misbehaved with our students, Then he looked at this boy who was singing bhajans, ready to sing bhajan. You tell what happened. It seems some misbehavior with some MLA took place. So he narrated the entire incident. Then Swami told, so what did you do? I said, Swami, I just stood my ground. I told that unless he removes his chappal, I am going to complain to Mr. Chennareddy about his misbehavior. And that shook that person. He ran out and removed his chappals. Swami said, see, this is my student. They know how to act at the right moment, the right way with the right people. But Bangaru, I will give you one small advice. With everybody, if you are going to be brash and very straightforward like this, you will suffer in your life. Sometimes you have to learn to be soft and polite. After bhajans were over, we traded notes and we discovered the same incident in less than 10 minutes. He had given 2 different lessons. Now that is what Swami is all about. And trust me, if there were another 10 people, you would have given 10 different lessons with that same incident. How does he manage this? How does he manage this? This is a characteristic feature of an avatar who can read our innermost thoughts because he is there residing in our hearts. He reflects in our heart what he wants to reflect and what he wants to know. And this is perhaps the reason why we see that he never really needs any external source to tell him what we require. What we need may not be what we actually require. There's a distinction between the two.